Well, hey again, Monster fans, and welcome to another edition of Monsters OT. We are proudly presented by Century Federal Credit Union and coming to you, as always, only here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Tony Brown here with you. We'll hear from Brad Thiessen in just a few moments, but a big show coming up. We're going to keep it clean at Whistle Express Car Wash in Parma with Monsters forward Luca Del Bel Belluz. That's a little bit later on. We'll also take a look at the Monsters annual fundraiser Tip a Monster, which is iconic in the history of the team and was recently held at the Metropolitan at the 9 in downtown Cleveland. That plus our True North convenience stores, Monsters alumni segment, all straight ahead. But we begin, as we always do, with headlines. All right, Brad Thiessen joins me now. And Thies, this episode on Headlines, we begin with the North Division standings because this time of year, that's what it's all about. So let's run down who's in front in the North Division right now, and that's the Laval Rocket with 63 points. They've got a 1-point cushion as at the time of this taping on second place Rochester. Cleveland in third, just ahead of Toronto, and then it's Syracuse, Belleville, and Utica rounding things out. But you got to look at the standings now. We've been doing it throughout the season, but now it's when the numbers count the most as we drive towards the playoffs.
Yeah, once you get past that all-star game as a player, you really start to dial in to figure out where you're at. Right now, Laval and Rochester with those extended winning streaks have kind of distanced themselves a little bit at the top of the pack, but a tight race regardless.
Yeah, for sure. So anything can happen here the rest of the way. Let's not forget about Syracuse and Belleville. They're currently under that 50-point mark, but as you said, a lot can change, and it can change in a short amount of time as, you know, really all that you work for throughout the season comes to the fore this time of year.
Yeah, and there's obviously at the end here a lot of divisional games, those 4-point matchups where you really want to make sure that you're making those games count.
Let's take a look at the remaining schedule for Cleveland here as we continue on headlines. 26 games left for the Monsters, and really all but one of their opponents in playoff position right now. Some of the top teams in the league, like Texas, like Hershey, like Laval, like Rochester. It's not going to be easy down the stretch.
No easy games when you look at that schedule, which is good because once you get to the playoffs, you're playoff ready because you've been playing those really good teams, and Monsters are going to be in for a tough stretch down the way here.
Yeah, 13, 11, and 6 is Cleveland's record combined against all those opponents, at least the ones they've faced, that they still have left on their schedule the rest of the way this year. That's good for a .533 points percentage, but really for Cleveland, every single game is going to be tough, and every single point is going to be really important to their playoff positioning. All right, let's keep it rolling now on headlines as we talk about an influx of talent in Cleveland due to a lengthy break in the NHL schedule because of the Four Nations Face-Off tournament. And Brad, that means that guys like Luca Del Bel Belluz and Mikhail Pucha, they're available to come to Cleveland without waivers, and so the Blue Jackets want them playing games instead of enjoying the break.
Yeah, great opportunity for those guys to continue playing. Obviously, Luca was leading the AHL in scoring at the time of his recall, so huge bonus for him to come back in the lineup and be with the Monsters. And Mikhail Pucha, obviously he's a coach's favorite, just trusted guy in that lineup, can go on the power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, someone that really adds to the overall skill of the team.
Yeah, 15 appearances for Luca Del Bel Belluz and 8 points in his most recent NHL recall. And, of course, Mikhail Pucha, he's an NHL regular at this point, over 45 appearances this season for the Blue Jackets. And I'm wondering, Brad, you know, from the NHL to the AHL, it's a different style of play, right? And so for these guys, what are they trying to achieve in their time with the Monsters here, knowing that there's a potential at the end of this break that they're headed back up top? How does it change their perspective on the assignment?
Yeah, I mean, you want to stay sharp because you know that opportunity is still is going to be there once the break's over, and you want to be able to come down here and make a difference, continue those, stay sharp with your skills, and contribute. You want to win games too. So when you're down here, you want to be a difference maker at this level and show that you're one of the top players.
All right, now on headlines, we've got Brad Thiessen here. He's the team's goaltending coach. Let's talk goaltending. As the Monsters' two netminders this season, Jet Greaves and Zach Sawchenko, have developed into a really good tandem. Of course, we've talked ad nauseum about Jet Greaves capturing all the club records this year. He's added a few more, including minutes played to saves, wins, games played, all that good stuff. But let's take it guy by guy, and we'll start with Jet. You look at the numbers this season. He's 13, 8, and 5 in 28 appearances, couple of shutouts, 308 goals against, 907 save percentage. You work with him day to day. Just what do you think about his overall effort this season in comparison to what he's done throughout his career?
Yeah, I think one of the things for him this year is, you know, he's been here for so long. You talk about all the records that he's racked up here in Cleveland. It's when is my chance going to come in the NHL full time? So I think it's for him is staying where his feet are. That's one of the things he likes to say. He did a really good job when he went to Columbus this year. Unfortunately for him, he's back in Cleveland. He obviously wants to be in Columbus and show that he can be a full-time NHL guy. So mentally, it's not easy. And so for him, just day-to-day, being here in Cleveland, being a guy that can be a difference maker at this level in this league, I think he's done a good job of that, and that's his challenge is to continue doing that and be ready for his chance when it does come.
Well, important to remember, he's on a two-way contract this season, but I believe that changes to a one-way deal next year, so that changes the dynamic a little bit, but he remains the linchpin in net for Cleveland. He's getting a lot of starts for the Monsters this year, as expected. Let's talk about Zach Sawchenko, too, though, Brad, because as a veteran guy who's experienced in the American League, he has been a great addition to this club this year and has locked it down when Jet is not playing or when he's recalled or whenever the opportunity strikes, if the schedule dictates. 8-5-3 in 17 games, a sub-3 goals against, a shutout, an .894 save percentage. He's been doing all that he's been asked to do. Yeah,
it's been real fun getting to know Zach this year and work with him. In that backup role, you want a guy who's great in the room, who's willing to work hard, take those extra shots when maybe it's not ideal or maybe you don't want to, but he's out there with a great attitude every day, working hard, keeping things light. And then when he's asked to step in, he's played really well. There's been a couple games where maybe he's been off a little bit, which contributes to some of the lower numbers. But for the large majority of his games, he's given them a chance to win, which is what you want to do in that role.
Yeah, and I know he's happy for the opportunity this season. He was limited in the games he could get into last year, but 17 appearances already. That number's just going to go up as the schedule becomes more and more demanding into March and on into April, and then the playoffs after that. All right, let's wrap up headlines now with something fun. The Monsters have a team dog, as the Monsters and Cavaliers are welcoming Reggie to the fold this year. He's a young yellow lab puppy, a team service dog in training through the Puppy with a Purpose program. He's going to train to serve U.S. veterans and first responders that have disabilities through America's Vet Dogs. You can learn more at vetdogs.org. But have you had a chance to meet Reggie yet, Tease?
Yeah, Reggie was at practice one day and seemed like he liked the ice, so that was good. But it was fun to see the guys all light up when they saw Reggie come out and just come over to him and just kind of lighten the mood. So it seems like a great program and looking forward to having him around.
Yeah, so Reggie's going to be around with both the Cavs and Monsters here going forward, so keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully you'll see him out and about as you follow the Monsters' action throughout the year. With that, Headlines has come to an end, and we'll take a break now on Monsters OT, but when we come back, plenty more shows straight ahead, including our True North Monsters alumni segment and more. Stay with us. It's Monsters OT on Rock Entertainment Sports Network, presented by Century Federal Credit Union. Welcome back, everyone, on Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal Credit Union here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network with Brad Thiessen. I'm Tony Brown. A lot of show coming up. We'll look at the recent Tip a Monster fundraiser that the Monsters used to raise a ton of great money for the Monsters Community Foundation. Also still ahead, our Monsters alumni segment presented by True North Convenience Stores. But Brad, right now it's time to go in the room and hear from Trent Vogelhuber, the team's head coach. All right, our first cut with Trent came from the Monsters' home game against Providence prior to that game, actually, on February the 1st, talking about Jordan Dumais' first professional experience as he played the prior weekend during Lumberjacks weekend for Cleveland. And we asked Trent what he thought of the young rookie scorer.
His legs filled up there pretty quick the first few shifts, and obviously his heart was probably racing there early on. And then as it slowed down, he gets an intermission break for him. I think he came out in the second period and then especially in the third and was really good. You could see he just competed on pucks, and for an undersized guy, he digs in and gets on the inside and wins those 50-50s. And then you can see some of the playmaking too. Gets an assist by controlling, possessing the puck beneath the goal line, making a good slip play. So really positive start for him. And like I said yesterday, we're excited to have him back in the fold.
Well, Monster's excited to have him, but Brad, he was excited to play. And I like what Trent did there. It's not just the anticipation coming off of injury, but think of the nerves just being in a game for the first time in over 400 days. I'm sure he was feeling a whole lot of feelings on that day.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I know his dad was in attendance as well, which was pretty cool to be able to see his first pro games. But it's fun when you see a guy put in all the work that he has and be rewarded for it, and be excited about that opportunity. And obviously he looked really good, and Just the talent and abilities that kid has, it's going to be a real help to the Monsters here down the stretch.
He's played 4 games. He's got 4 points as a professional.
Not bad.
Pretty good start. Let's keep it rolling in the room now with thoughts from Trent Vogelhuber prior to the Monsters' overtime loss, in Lehigh Valley on Friday, February the 7th. He talked about Stephane Matteau, the team's captain, and how he is on a line with Jordan Dumais and serving as a mentor of sorts for the young player.
Just a guy who's been around and done it all, and a guy who's just barely started his pro career. So I like that. I kind of like that combination, and Steph can help him through little things, even face-off setups and responsibilities before you take a draw, and talking to each other on the bench. And not that it went into the decision making, but both French guys that can speak together if they need to, and maybe that makes him feel a little bit more comfortable. So I think it's important to have guys like Steph, and that's why their value is so high, to help, whether they're playing with them or not, help those guys entering their pro career kind of figure it out and get started.
Yeah, it's an interesting match there, Brad, not just in terms of the mentorship element here, but also putting those players together because they sort of counterbalance each other nicely on either side of a line.
Yeah, they do. Steph's the big body on that line. He's going to be in the corners digging pucks out and finding Jordan, and I'm sure he'll be the recipient of some nice passes from Jordan as well, and he knows how to finish. So looking forward to seeing how that chemistry develops.
All right, now our next in-the-room clip here comes prior to the Monsters game on the 11th of February, a tough one, a 5-1 loss to the Rochester Americans. But we asked Trent Vogelhuber about the addition of Del Bel Belluz and Mikhail Pucha and how just their experience at the NHL level kind of rubs off on everyone when they come back down to the American League.
They're both good players, obviously. We know both of them really well, and just makes us better when you get good players in that obviously come down from the NHL. They should be confident, and they just make our team execution better, make our playmaking better, and you get a little confidence boost when you have guys like that you can depend on. So obviously we're selfishly looking forward to having them in the lineup, and it's good to see them again.
Brad, when you talk about being in the NHL, a lot of times people talk about, the play up there and the hockey up there and how the level gets raised in that regard. But it's also true that just the way the players go about their business at that level can teach a player a lot about the industry and the game just being in that environment.
Yeah, I'm sure. And a guy like Luca Del Bel Belluz is there for the first time. He's wide-eyed and watching what guys are doing up there, and it was just been a great experience for him. And then, like you said, now he can take that down here and really apply that and make himself a better player because of it.
Well, that'll do it for our In the Room segment. Right now, though, let's get to know Luca Del Bel Belluz as the Monsters All-Star forward sat down with us and kept it clean at Whistle Express Car Wash in Parma. All right, guys, we're keeping it clean again today at Whistle Express Car Wash in Parma. As you can see, our guest, Luca Del Bel Belluz. So, Luca, let's get right into it, man. Perfect. What do you drive these days?
I'm fortunate enough that I don't have my own car. I get to drive my parents' car. So I drive a Porsche Cayenne. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's pretty fun to drive, so yeah, it's good.
Okay, so when you think about all your teammates, right? Like, who's got the best car right now?
There's a few good cars. I also like trucks, so I'm gonna go with either Cole Clayton or Hunter McCown. They got some nice trucks.
Nice. All right, so we were talking to Fixie about this, but stick shift, automatic, do you know how to drive a stick? Have you ever tried?
I do not. Have you
never attempted that?
No, and I don't want to. I feel like I'd ruin it.
Who would you want with you in your car if you're gonna go on a, like we do, 6-7 hour ride?
I'm gonna want someone who keeps me entertained, someone I can chat to, not get bored of. So I'm gonna go with Jet Greaves, Owen Sillinger. Those two guys keep it light on the bus.
All right, so now the real question, who would you absolutely not want to be in a car with?
James Malatesta. He sleeps the whole time.
That was a quick answer.
Yeah.
So you had that one on the tip of your tongue. What are you doing on the bus to kill time? Some guys play cards, there's a lot going on, but what do you do personally?
I am towards the middle of the bus right now, and like I said, the guys that are in the middle with me they talk a lot, so we kind of keep it light. After it kind of cools down throughout the night, maybe I'll just throw on a Netflix show or whatever, maybe YouTube or something like that.
Well, you've been in Cleveland now, your second year here, so just general terms, what makes this a great place to be in the American League?
Honestly, I always say to people who ask me about Cleveland, especially in the East, I think it's one of the best places to play. Our fans, our rink, the city, there's so much to do. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Cleveland.
All right, well, that was keeping it clean here at Whistle Express Car Wash in Parma. That's Luca Del Bel Balloons. We got to get him to practice. So until next time, I'm Tony Brown. Welcome back, everyone, on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Monsters OT rolls along, presented by Century Federal Credit Union. I'm Tony Brown. Still to come, our Monsters alumni segment, courtesy of True North Convenience Stores. But right now, it's time to take a look at the Monsters annual signature fundraising event. That's right, I'm talking about the somewhat infamous Tip-A-Monster, and it took place this January at the Metropolitan at the 9 in Cleveland.
This is the signature fundraiser for the Monsters Community Foundation, and it's so important to all the work we do in the community the entire year. Our goal for this Tip-A-Monster was to give people even more chances to either interact with a player, get something signed, have a photo to take away from the occasion, or to leave with some really special memorabilia, which you can only get at an event like this.
It's a fun night for us every year. You know, it's really cool to come to a venue like this and kind of check it out, and it's great to be able to spend some time with the fans and mingle with them and get to know them a little bit more than we usually do.
You know, hockey is nothing in the grand scheme of things, really. It's it allows us to get all together tonight for events like this, but you know, when you hear some stories and you know what some causes are for, puts things into perspective, and it's great what the game can do to get people together. It's really awesome.
This is this is my first. I didn't know what to expect, but it's really great getting to interact with all the players and all the fellow fans, and just getting to like make bread with them or break bread with them. It's really, really awesome.
Honestly, it's really, really cool. I think sometimes when you're just going to games, it can just be sort of like, all right, I gotta get to my seats and go. But to be able to hang out with fans that are just as passionate as I am is really, really cool. And the staff, like all of the staff, not even just here at Metro 9, all of the Monster staff are amazing. They do amazing work, and I'm just happy to be able to have a relationship with them and talk to them because they do amazing work.
We'll keep an eye out early next year. We did sell out this time around, so we would love for more people to be able to join us, but it's a hot ticket, so clevelandmonsters.com/community. Follow us on social, and we'll be able to get you tickets next year.
That was a fun night. I mean, the fans get into it. Of course, the most important part of it is that we're raising a lot of money for the Monsters Community Foundation, but a great night for the players to meet the fans to meet the players, and of course, it's all for a great cause. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled to clevelandmonsters.com next season for more information on how you can be involved in Tip-A-Monster. It's an exclusive event, and every year the tickets always sell out. All right, before we take another break here, we wanted to quickly run through some key promotions that are coming up for the Monsters in the next several weeks. We'll begin Friday, February the 28th, Cleveland hosting Charlotte at 7 p.m. It's our Black Heritage celebration. Always a really meaningful game, an impactful game there. And following it up the next day on Saturday, March the 1st, it'll be specialty jerseys for our University Hospitals Rainbow Babies and Children's Night, also against Charlotte at 7 o'clock. The next weekend, then, the 7th and 8th of March, the Monsters host those mighty Hershey Bears, the two-time defending Calder Cup champions. On Friday the 7th, it's our Women's History celebration at 7, and the following day at 4 p.m., Pucks and Paws. That is always one of the top promotions throughout the year for Monster fans. You can bring your furry friend to the game, get all the info, but more importantly, buy your tickets ASAP at clevelandmonsters.com, and all 4 of those games will feature the Monsters Food Drive, which is presented by Trusted Sex. So we hope to see you out at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse for Monsters hockey as the season progresses into March and beyond. We'll take a quick break on Monsters OT. We'll come back and wrap things up after this. Stay with us on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Welcome back one last time on Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal Credit Union here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. I'm Tony Brown, back with Brad Thiessen. It's time now for our True North Monsters alumni segment, brought to you by True North Convenience Stores. Fast, friendly, clean. And Brad, this time we're highlighting Dan Maggio, a true fan favorite, a true enforcer, a throwback guy. He was with the Lake Erie Monsters from 2012 to 2015, but enjoyed a playing career that spanned the better part of a decade. He played in the ECHL, the CHL, he played in the American League, of course, and overseas in Denmark too. But with him, it was about the thrilling, area of the game that the fans love so much, and that is dropping the gloves, his trademark.
Yeah, back 10 years ago or so, that part of the game was a little bit more prevalent than it was now, or is now, sorry. And he's someone that was known across the league as someone you didn't want to mess with. So obviously had some big years here in Cleveland.
And some huge enforcers throughout the history of the Monsters. Of course, Brett Gallant in the modern era was the guy. But before that, not just Maggio, he was with Patrick Bordelot. And so they had sort of a two-headed monster, no pun intended, going on there. But when you look at his Monsters career, 119 games played, 522 penalty minutes. He's still number 2 on the list, too, Brett Gallant, but certainly a guy that connected with the fans and enjoyed, as you have, Brad, and countless other players here, a great relationship with the supporters of the team.
Yeah, for sure. Those guys always seem to connect themselves, endear themselves to the fans with their style of play, so he was one of those guys.
All right, well, thank you very much, Brad Thiessen. That'll do it for our True North Monsters alumni segment, and in fact, that'll do it for another edition of Monsters OT. Big thanks go out, of course, to Century Federal Credit Union, our proud presenting partners. I want to thank as well Leo Simone, Jeremy Hawks, the rest of our outstanding crew. Once again for Brad Thiessen and True North Convenience Stores, I'm Tony Brown saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal Credit Union, only here on The Rock.